So a few hours ago, news broke that Denver Nuggets guard Jamal Murray is out for the season with an ACL tear. Obviously, a huge blow for the Denver Nuggets. He is their best player behind MVP candidate Nikola Jokic. And we all know how good Jamal Murray was in the playoffs last season, where, in the first round, it felt like him and Donovan Mitchell went head to head in every game of the 7-game series, which was must-see TV. The Nuggets end up beating the Clippers in the second round and eventually losing to the Lakers in the third round and by a score of 4-1. So this injury means that we need a couple of players from this Denver Nuggets team to kind of step up. Michael Porter Jr. has had a great season, and a lot of people don't talk about him just because he's the third scorer. How often do we talk about a team's third best player apart from the Brooklyn Nets? But he's their third best player. We don't talk about him too much, but he's had a great season thus far. He's second in the league. He was a bit up and down in the playoffs last season, which was kind of a bonus for him just to kind of see what the playoffs are like and the adjustments that he needs to make. And, they also have Aaron Gordon, a guy they got from the Orlando Magic, who loves playing in Denver thus far. So they're going to need those two guys to step up if they have any chance of doing anything in the playoffs. And if the playoffs ended today, the Denver Nuggets would play the Los Angeles Lakers. So it would be kind of a rematch of what we saw last season in the playoffs. So one thing I'll say is, if the Denver Nuggets can move up to third or even second in the West, which is going to be really hard now with Jamal Murray out, I think it would solidify Nikola Jokic winning the MVP award. I think when we take out Joel Embiid and LeBron out of that race because they've just missed so many games, it's kind of down to Jokic, I would say, Kawhi Leonard, CP3, and Dame Lillard. And I think if he can move this team up even higher in the standings without their second best player, I think it would solidify him winning the 2020-2021 regular season MVP. But with that being said, there's still some very good teams in the West. We have the Clippers. We have the Lakers. They're going to be healthy soon. Clippers added Rondo. Suns, who have been really good this season. Jazz, who started off strong and tailed off just a little bit, but it'd be really hard not to tail off the way that they started this season. So that's a team that you want to focus on as well, because they can shoot the three, they can defend. And then you have the Mavs, who are kind of up and down, but when you have Luka, I think a lot of things are possible for your team going forward. When people ask the question, do you count the Nuggets out? I wouldn't necessarily count them out, because they still have Nikola Jokic. I think they still have guys who can play that guard position. Obviously, they're not going to be the quality of, let's say, of a Murray, but they have Monte Morris, they have Campazzo, who's a veteran from Europe. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of what the Nuggets go with. Are they still going to go with a traditional lineup, or are they going to have, Nikola Jokic running the point pretty much at all times? And then, when he goes to the bench, you're bringing a point guard like Monte Morris or Campazzo, who can run the point while he is on the bench. But I think that's something to kind of focus on until the end of the season, because Denver's not really used to this position either. So I think they're gonna try a bunch of different things prior to playoff starting, and then they're just gonna go with the best option possible. One thing I'll say is, having the experience that they had from last season, playing in two, you can almost say three very tough series, I think a lot of their younger players have grown up a lot. So I already mentioned Michael Porter Jr. I think playing in the playoffs last season for him was really good, because now he knows where to make his adjustments. We know he's not a great defensive player, but he's going to have to do some defensive work if Denver has any chance of getting through even the first round. Aaron Gordon is a leaper who can be a decent defender. Now, will we see that? I think that's kind of like what we're waiting for here. And all the other players, like Monte Morris was on this roster. He's been, I think, for like 3 or 4 years now. So he's kind of used to the offense, and Malone's been there for a while as well. So it's the same coaching. I would say mostly the same players. They have guys like Paul Millsap, who has experience. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward. Like I said, I wouldn't necessarily count them out. It all depends who they get in that first round. Like if it's the Lakers and the Lakers are healthy, I think Lakers are gonna get by the Denver Nuggets rather easily. But if it's maybe a more favorable matchup, like maybe a Dallas, then maybe Denver has well, Denver for sure has a better chance of getting by Dallas than they do of let's say a Lakers. So to kind of wrap it up, I think if Denver could move up in the seedings, Nikola Jokic has a real big good shout for winning the MVP this season.